having my blood pressure taken makes me anxious. It used to make me break sweat. My blood pressure would be up. My heart would be palpitating because I was so worried that they're going to tell me, actually, you're staying here.
A big welcome to you, Kate. Please start off by introducing yourself.
I am a mother of five, so two are my stepchildren, and I've birthed three children.
And before you gave birth, like who is Kate, very briefly?
I feel like I've always been a mum without being a mum. I was just like the mum in the group, or it feels like so long ago. And when people are like, oh, I've lost my identity as a mum, I genuinely feel like I've almost found my identity as a mum. And I just think that there's strength in that. Like a lot of people see it negatively.
You're right. You do hear a lot of women just feel like they can no longer live their lives. It's kind of things have
Yeah.
changed for the worse in a way. And things do change, but it doesn't necessarily have to be for for the worse. I've seen like really massive families of like 8 and
Mhm.
they've continued traveling because even before they had babies, they were always traveling and they just
Yeah.
carry that on. And I always think that's so inspiring to see. So no, it's great to hear you say that you kind of found yourself when, you became a
Yeah.
mom. So you said you've birthed 3. Talk us through, since that's what we're here to talk about, talk us through your first birth up until your most recent one.
So, like, reflecting on it, it's really weird because with my first son, Theo, I always wanted a home birth. Like, when I look back, I always wanted a home birth. So I was actually with the home birthing team to the point they'd dropped everything to my house. So I had the home birthing kit there and I was good to go. But then on the day of, I didn't know I was in labor, basically. I didn't know I was in labor. So I'm walking around getting like some dark bed sheets and some things I don't know why I was getting, but I was getting certain bits. And then I remember my mucus plug going. I basically had quite a rough pregnancy. I went through domestic violence with my first pregnancy and it was a very stressful one. So I bled throughout it. I worked really long hours. I worked in a school. I worked with children. I was working two jobs. So I left the house at 6:37 and then I got home at 9. So I was like working a lot on my feet, carrying heavy things. I was in and out of the hospital a lot. But my actual labor was, I want to say, easy. Like
Good.
it was such a blessing. I think it was about 3 hours. I didn't tear or anything. Um, and had I had a positive birth experience.
Yeah.
Like it was just the fact that it wasn't my home birth. And the thing is, the one midwife who was so lovely and who was seeing at all my appointments, she would have been my midwife on the day. So I remember when seeing her, we were both like, no, like I would have had you. And so that was a big regret going into my second pregnancy, knowing that I wanted one. I've always wanted a home birth. So then it was fast forward. Big son is 12, middle son is now 3. So it's 9 years later.
Mm. How was your postpartum with your first son?
So things came very naturally to me. Like breastfeeding came very naturally to me. Like the whole caring for him and something levels up within me that I just felt like I had to prioritize and I had to like real mama bear
Mhm.
around me and my son. So I still have like all happy memories in regards to like me and him. Like I just felt like it was me and him like against the world. I pushed all my family and all my friends like away from me at that time. That's my memories of it. I know people have maybe different memories. I look back at like pictures of the shopping and the food and stuff I ate, and it was just like atrocious. The stuff that I used to eat. I remember avocado and condensed milk was a regular snack, which is like a dessert, like mate that we'd have in the Philippines. But I just look back at my diet choices and I'm like, woo.
So how was your journey like from your first son, and then how do you sort of journey onwards to having more children?
So I'd say I was content with Theo because, like I said, it was just me and him against the world. We'd done quite a bit of traveling with each other. There was nothing really to stop. He just came along with me. We'd go to restaurants together. Like He was very he was an incredible boy. He still is. Um, so it was me and him for like the first 4 years of his life. And then my best friend introduced me to my now current husband, who I literally knew from the first time I met. I was like, "Could marry him. Could marry him."
Oh.
And then suddenly my mindset was like, maybe I want more.
Mm.
Maybe I want more babies.
So then how do you sort of journey on to baby number 2?
I remember feeling super, super happy like when I felt pregnant. I did the pregnancy test myself. I bought a little Liverpool baby grow. I don't do football, but my family very much does. And he is a real Liverpool fan. So I bought like tiny Liverpool onesie to announce the pregnancy to him. And it was just very exciting from then. And then I think very early on, I had a big bleed. And so we thought we'd lost the baby. I was told I'd lost the baby. And then I was adamant that I hadn't, even though I was told that I had. But from then, work was very stressful. My whole community was very much tied up within work. And so a lot of my support structure just fell beneath me. So I was really stressed. It wasn't even morning sickness. It was sickness from the minute I woke up to the minute I went to sleep. But now, know what I know now, looking back, I didn't eat properly. And then I remember October, November, I was like, I feel funny. I have a bit of a cramp. And so I went into hospital and they basically said, "You're not coming out." And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, I need to come out. I've got children at home. I've got work. My baby shower's in a few weeks. That's what I was like. I need to go home. I've got my baby shower in a few weeks. I need to plan. And they were like, you're not leaving. And looking back now, I should have gone home. But anyway, it's when you're itching all over,
Okay.
preeclampsia, cholestasis. There was other things. There was a couple of other things as well that I actually can't remember. Remember just like really constipated. I had a really bad cough. It was so bad that I was pregnant and they wanted to x-ray my lungs. Like I was so ill. And I remember it was still around COVID times. So every time I coughed, I got dirty looks. Like from nurses, from other people in there. But like there was the longest time, 2 months. And friends cooked for me as much as they could, but I had hospital food. I
Yeah.
was not nourished. I the only my like little ray of light when I was in hospital was I had this little section and I had raw honey, or I had Manuka honey, I had an essential oil blend and a plain lotion that I'd add the essential oil blend to because I'd want to cut through the aromas of the hospital. And I also had a tincture from you and herbal tea from you. But that little like herbally section saved like really my mental health. So literally the anxiety any day, like if I had really bad headaches, that was a sign of the preeclampsia. And then all these things they were telling me, I just had very high anxiety. And I remember one day saying, I've got a really bad migraine. And he was like, yeah, you're going to have baby today. So it was like a planned emergency C-section.
Yeah. And you were how many weeks when you went in and told you're not coming out?
32 and 3 days. Yeah, so I think I was just over the cusp of them being very worried. So they were like, look, if we can get past this point, then baby's got a higher chance of survival.
So you have a migraine, the doctor tells you, okay, we're going to have baby today. What was that experience like?
The actual cesarean experience wasn't a horror story that everyone tells me is, funnily enough. So I remember being told, gonna have cesarean, went down to the theatre room and everyone was lovely. There was really loud music playing. So on the list that everyone told me I should have, I was like dim lighting, no one talking, my like praise and worship music playing, no one talking amongst themselves. I had this extensive list of what I wanted. But then when I went in there, it was the total opposite. It was like really loud music. Everyone was really talking amongst themselves. They were very happy. They were really laughing. They were really friendly. It was really bright light. And I just really let go, really trusted in the Lord. really let myself be supported by my husband. And I wasn't anxious at all. I remember at all. And then we were literally, I think they were just about to give me injections. And then there was another emergency. And they were like, look, he was like, if we don't go to this baby's going to die. I'm really sorry. I know you're an emergency, but this baby is more of an emergency. And then a new team came on. But what I felt good about was they were a brand new team. So in my head, I was like, they're fresh. Like, I remember everything, which I think is bizarre. Everything was very clear. My husband was, I felt like he was trying to make jokes. Yeah, he was such a rock for me. Like, I genuinely couldn't have done it by myself. He was amazing. I don't remember the midwife. I think maybe because Auric was so there with me, like she didn't have to be there, but she was there, and then I think she just stepped back. I remember Maya being taken out of me. After that was a bit of a blur, but then I remember him being in an incubator next to me, just being him not breathing at first. I don't remember him crying, and then him being taken out. And that's the point that I was just like, this isn't right. This is not
Mm.
how it's supposed to be. And placed on me, and him really instinctively like finding my breast and me breastfeeding him, and me just having like skin to skin. And so just seeing Maya, my second baby, just being taken away is just horrible. And I remember Auric went with him, so I was by myself, and then having to go back to the labour ward. What I hate, I think it should be criminal, but like, why was I on the labour ward for 2 weeks? So I was on the labour ward 2 weeks. I remember the first day going to see him in NICU, and it hurt my body so bad that I think I couldn't the next day because I just had a cesarean. And so I had all that moving.
Mhm.
I remember being on the labour ward, hearing other babies cry, me not being, and it was just horrible. Just, yeah, so traumatic.
Thank you for sharing that. What would you say got you through it?
Definitely our faith. Definitely our faith. We really did have people as well that came around us and loved on us. They prayed on us. They cooked us food. They dropped us food. They looked after our elder. They looked after Theo. Me and Auric staying strong throughout it. Yeah, I would say it was our faith, definitely. Without that,
Mm.
without having to do that as a single mum would have, I don't know how I would have coped with that.
Mm. And then Maya being in NICU, how long did he stay in the NICU for?
So he was born November the 23rd. And I think he came out Christmas Eve. So nearly a whole
How,
month. It took
yeah.
longer.
And how was
Um,
that adjusting to a baby that had just come freshly out of NICU? How was the postpartum with that?
I didn't eat properly. I look back and how my body was, I had all the symptoms of how people would describe fibromyalgia. So
Mm.
you'd go like that on my body, and I was in such pain. I was in such pain. I was very foggy. Because bearing in mind, like when I was in hospital for those 2 months, I had a lot of medication. So since Theo's been born, I've hardly taken medication. I've always been on like natural remedies, looking after myself through natural ways rather than leaning on, like I say, Western medicine. And I think they said something like the amount of medicine that I'd had in a week was equivalent to a couple of months. So my body had so much medication in it. I don't know. I just really didn't feel like myself. I had so much brain fog. There was no rest after. There was like zero, looking back, like there was zero rest. I'm really surprised I didn't have a mental breakdown because, yeah, you had baby, had cesarean, and it was straight having to go visit him. Also, when he was first in NICU, all the nurses were Filipino, like, in his room, and that, like, really brought me comfort. I don't know why. I do know why, I'm mum's Filipino.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it, like, so brought me comfort, and I just felt a real, like, connection. I just felt like he
Mhm.
was in good hands, and they were so loving. I hated it. It's like having to wait every morning for the doctor to come around to tell you how your baby is. And then as he was getting better and as he was going, like changing from room to room, so you're celebrating it because he's growing stronger, it's being celebrated. However, with that, I personally felt like the care like changes, not as attentive. So I remember when he was like really not as well, the nurses were like, it's one-to-one care. So it's very different. But also I remember like having to breastfeed at that time. So obviously he was so little, I didn't put him on the boob. I had skin to skin as much as I could, but I had to pump. So I remember they had a pumping room. They had 4 chairs and I'd be sitting there trying to pump. And then there'd be other mums trying to pump and they'd be going through like bottles. They'd be going through bags and I'd be sitting there and I'd get like a real tiny amount. And I remember like the first zero point 0.1 mil I've got pictures of it and I'm like going to Oric, like, look, I've got breast milk. What happened was we went with a breast milk donor and then his body rejected it. And that night my breast milk came in. But it was very hard. And at that point as well, being in the hospital was affecting my mental health. So I went home. We only live 10 minutes away. So we knew we could always go in. But my breastfeeding journey was like really hard. So I'd come home, I'd pump. They'd tell me every day how much milk he needed. And so if, say, for example, he needed 1 ounce, I could only pump 1 ounce. So then Ori at like 3 a.m. was going to the hospital. And then he'd come back, they'd be like, you need to pump like another amount. And then I'd pump that amount and then he'd go back to the hospital. And that's what our days were. So it was either, and he and Danny spent a lot of time with Maya because my body was broken. And also like just not neglecting Theo as well.
Yeah.
There was an argument I had with a nurse on the last day that he was there. And I knew from then, I was like, he's not staying in here anymore.
Mm.
But that year, our Christmas present was we took Maya home.
When you say your body was broken, what helped you to mend?
So he came home in December, and I think at the end of January, I went to a holistic nutritionist. So I went to a holistic nutritionist, and yeah, all the basically, she said my body was in fight or flight mode. I had all the symptoms of fibromyalgia, real brain fog. My gut lining was tore up like rubbish. When she tested me for what I was intolerant to, it was coming back that I was intolerant to everything. So I remember I obviously didn't stop eating everything. There were certain things that I stopped eating. There were certain things I had to implement into my diet and then slowly got back to very slowly.
And then how was that journey from your second to then when you find out you're pregnant with your third?
Maya's year and a half, first year and a half of his life was, I don't want to say hard, but we found out he's got craniosynostosis and he needed an emergency operation. So the first year of his life, it was very much, he was teeny, like he was born 3.5 pounds. So you can imagine for the first year, he was still small. So every time he cried, I used to cry.
Mm.
I just felt like there was so much trauma in his cry. Even now, I stop myself from crying. But so the first year, I mollycoddled him. And then to find out that about him, and then he had to have 2 emergency operations. I learned the hard way is that when you're in a state where you're not feeding yourself properly, your brain isn't working properly, then you almost don't have the brain space to nourish yourself. And you're constantly playing like catch up. And especially like you're told when you're a mum, oh, brain fog is normal. It's normal to forget everything. And so I would just think, cool, it's normal that I'm scatty, that I'm forgetting everything. But what changed for us is that I invested in a personal trainer. So I was doing weights 3 times a week, really upped our nutrition as a whole, as a family, like looking at what we were eating. And then although we didn't plan on falling pregnant with Alora, it was very much welcome. and my whole body was like a different space. Because of everything I'd been through with Maya, I knew exactly what the game plan was, and I knew how things were gonna be so different. When I found out I was pregnant with Laura, we didn't tell anyone. We really kept it still, but because of all the problems with Maya, we just kept it between us.
Mm.
I literally ordered the Amazon test, did the pregnancy test, and I was like, "What did you order from Amazon?" And I was like, "Pregnancy test, I'm pregnant." It was like real. It wasn't like romanticized and lovely. Let's see if I'm pregnant. It was like, yeah, it was
We're having a baby.
like, I wish I could change that. I wish I could romance. It was like, yeah, I ordered it from Amazon. Turns out I am pregnant. When am I pregnant? So I was like, this pregnancy, I'm going to eat everything organic. I knew exactly what I was going to do. Wasn't going to live off takeaways and Marks and Spencer's crisps. I was going to see the holistic nutritionist again. I knew I was going to see you. Like I had that planned already. I had my game plan as to how I was going to look after my body. Noric were on the exact same page. We're not going to go through what I went through in the second pregnancy. I'm going to look after myself. Stress is going to be eliminated. Anything that stresses me was not worth my time. I was very conscious of what I ate, what I didn't eat, but my body is a temple, but like I genuinely treated it like that. And then I think I tried to talk to you very early on and you said, come back to me when you're 3 months. Was
No,
that
I
right?
think so. I remember you messaging me and you were like, "I'm pregnant again. Like, I'm ready to go." And, if I'm not mistaken, I think you were like 8 or 9 weeks, and we wanted to hop on a call, and I couldn't that week, and I said and I think I scheduled you in for the following week. So you may have been, I don't know, like 9 or 10 weeks?
Okay. That was our first call.
Yeah, by my notes. Yeah, that was when we talked about, like, you when I asked you, "What is it you sort of need from me in this pregnancy? Like, what's my role? What do you want from me, basically, how can I help?" And then that's what kinda when we talked about, like, you wanted the support, like, throughout
Mm.
the pregnancy up until you gave birth. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I was almost, I don't know in what capacity I need you, but I know I
Mm,
need you. I need your herbs and I'm gonna need you after as well. I remember
mm.
being very distinct with, you're not leaving me after. I'm not, I need you for the months after. Like, it's not like I had baby and then you go, but I remember being very clear because I had your herbs. I've worked with you before, so I've known how positively you affected me. And I think I've deep dived as well, like before I was pregnant, into how herbs can positively affect you. And I thought, "Do you know what? Yes, I can, because I'm very bad. I think I can do all the things up myself. But when it come to me being pregnant, I was like, nope, I'm going to trust a professional. And I'm generally not going to do a Kate and think I could do everything myself. I'm going to lean on you, lean on these other women. Like everyone talks about having a village. And,
Mm,
and here in this country, I think it's not really maybe like that, but you know what? You can create your own village.
mm.
Yeah. And so I know I wanted you as part of my village.
No, that is sweet, and it was honestly, if I can add my own little 2 cent here, it was because I mean, we've known each other now, we had the periods experience, that's what you initially came to me for, I believe in
Mhm.
2019-ish,
Yeah.
and then 2021, I think you touched base with me during your second pregnancy, and you wanted to work with me and for whatever reason, it didn't happen, and then obviously you then touched base with me when you were about to be admitted in hospital, I sent some herbs there, and then for your 3rd pregnancy, I think you were like, "No, okay, we're doing it this time, like, let's go."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I definitely felt the level of focus and determination, and I love it now being a midwife and seeing the difference between women who take responsibility and those who outsource their care. I definitely see the difference between the 2 and the outcomes they inevitably attract. So, I kind of knew. Obviously, I had a sense because I know how hospitals are. They will kind of do all their jazz about, you're high risk, you've had a C-section. But I was like, if you stay healthy and like you just look after yourself, there's no reason why you can't have your dream birth. And that back over to you.
From when I had him home, I basically knew I had to rebuild my body because if I was ever going to have another baby, I couldn't have a baby in the state that my body was in. So even from then, I knew that I was working towards having a better body. That means that not like physically looking, but internally, my mental health, working through even the trauma of the birth, knowing that I had to do all this stuff if I was ever going to be in the position to fall pregnant again. And I had a beautiful pregnancy. I had no morning sickness. I had it maybe a couple times, but I knew when I had it, you taught me what to do. You gave me the tools that if I felt something pregnancy related, like morning sickness, it didn't stay with me long. So people probably think I'm lying, but I remember I didn't have any morning sickness. Energy levels, my energy levels like nothing. Like I had such good energy levels to the point. Oh my gosh, I remember with Maya, I'd fall asleep every night. We tried to watch a film and I'd fall asleep every night. And I just again, oh, it's pregnancy. My energy levels were high. And as well, I took better care of myself. I rested when I could rest. I was not stressed. I eliminated stress.
Mm.
The only thing I can say I felt negative throughout my pregnancy was what's it with the loose ligaments? The
Mm. Like
cool.
SPD and stuff.
That's it. But again, even the tips that you gave me in how to deal with that, I was like, why have I had two babies and I haven't known this stuff? Like so many things. And you taught me, and you could say they were simple things, but they were like life altering. I'm so upset that I just didn't have you throughout with my other two pregnancies. And I remember thinking I'm going to have her in hospital because they told me that I'm high risk. They said you're high risk. They didn't say I'm old, but that's what they led to. High risk, old, um, everything I had before, the preeclampsia, the cholestasis, the high blood pressure. And so knowing, I remember every time I had an appointment with the hospital, speaking to you, and you felt like confidence in my pocket. Like you just backed up what I truly wanted. You weren't telling me what you wanted or anything like that. You just made me feel confident to talk on the things that I wanted, where I stood with things. Having my blood pressure taken makes me anxious. It used to make me break sweat. My blood pressure would be up. My heart would be palpitating because I was so worried that they're going to tell me, actually, you're staying here.
And that's a really key point because with the scans, and I think it wasn't so much that it was just the basic scans that they normally offer. They wanted to offer you more scans, isn't it? Because of the craniosynostosis with Maya. Is that right?
Yes, I remember my specialists with the craniosynostosis basically said to the hospital I gave birth in that they should offer me more scans because of the craniosynostosis. However, they also said to me they won't be able to see craniosynostosis. They literally said, we're offering these to give you a peace of mind, but bear in mind they won't be able to pick up on it. And it's nothing to do with them, with how skilled they are. It's very hard to pick up on.
Yeah.
So from when they said that, I was like, why am I going all the time? And the thing is there was like a miscommunication because then I was then told that you are having extra scans because you're high risk. And I was like, I'm really not. If you check my notes, I'm getting more scans because of the craniosynostosis. So that was like a constant argument. So
Mm.
it got to the point where instead of me going there and me arguing and me being anxious and I would just say, look, I don't need to come to the appointment. I don't need to waste your time. I don't need to have extra scans because I could have gone every week. Every 2 weeks the amount they were offering me. Whereas with Maya, I didn't know that I could decline anything. I was like, I just wasn't me. I felt like a ghost. So I was a ghost. And Oric as well in the second pregnancy, he had to come to everything with me. I was so anxious and I want to say broken, for want of a better word. He had to hold my hand through every appointment. A blood pressure test, he had to be with me.
Up the state of most women's experiences. I mean, I talk to grown women all the time that are pregnant and, they've been offered in inductions, but they don't know that they can just say no. because
Yeah.
the brazenness as well of of the healthcare professionals is that, the woman will be 40 weeks and it's like, oh, okay, well, so we'll just book you in, and they'll scan, pan across to the calendar. We'll book you in for next Thursday. And it's just like, there's not even a question anymore. It's just, we'll just book you in. Your baby's not here at 40 weeks, so let's just force it out. Like, to me, that's just insane. And these women don't know that they can just say no, thank you. And I always
Yeah.
remind men, this is not a women's prison. Like, it's not you must get your baby out today. You can say no, it's an offer. If I was asking you, like, hey, do you want to eat some buffalo wings, and you're genuinely not hungry, you'd be like, no, I'm good. Like, it's
Yeah.
literally the same thing. It's an offer which you can accept or decline. Of course, the language that is used makes it seem like if you don't accept what we are offering you, you and your baby are going to die. That's kind of how it's played out,
No.
pretty much.
So,
Yeah.
because I was clear, like my brain was clear. I didn't have any like fog or anything. My brain was clear. So when I was being told certain things like you are high risk, da, 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 I was literally like, I'm not high risk. I haven't got high blood pressure. I haven't got preeclampsia. And so I was and as well, I didn't need Oric to hold my hand with me. So I didn't need him to speak for me because I knew exactly what I wanted. And I knew that it was more than okay to go for that and to push for that throughout my pregnancy. So I remember earlier on, I did a mood board and I did a mood board for you. And on the mood board, you said basically just get a few images of what you'd like your birth to be. And I went in and I created a lovely mood board and I wanted this and I wanted that. And I remember at the end, I said to you, can I get that in hospital? And you were like lovingly, no, you can't. And then you were like, why, I can't remember what you said, like, why are you having a hospital birth? If this is what you want, it looks like a home birth. Like, why are you having a hospital birth? And then combined with one of my really good friends, she was like, why don't you have a home birth? And then there's two ticking time bombs, like combined. And then I was like, wait, why aren't I having a home birth? And it was because the voices of midwives and nurses were telling me, you are high risk. Constant, you're high risk, you cannot have a home birth. So remember, I'd even gone to my normal midwife appointment and I said, please, can you pass me on to the home birthing team? Yes, yes. Are you sure? Are you sure? Because all the complications with your last pregnancy, I said, yes, please. And then I had to go back to her the week after. I went back to her the week after. She had not pushed me on. And then literally 2 weeks later, I called. Nothing had been passed on. So I had to really be like, look, what's going on? I want a home birth. And then only when I started being listened to is I didn't go to an appointment because I was like, I'm not with you anymore. I'm waiting on the home birth team. So when I did get passed over to the home birth team, my midwife was very lovely. Like she was just sweet and she knew what vibe I was on. So when she was delivering certain things to me, like the language that she used was soft, kind way, which I really appreciate. But when I remember 40 weeks, then the pressure started coming. Shall we just book in an induction for you just in case? Don't worry, should we book in? And then I think I had the manager come round and different midwives come round. And then that's when like their facts were laid on, telling me like there's a high after 42 weeks, there's more of a risk of baby dying that I'm probably gonna have a baby with where need to break their arm when I give birth. What is that called?
It's shoulder dystocia.
That's a much nicer way of disclosing. That's probably going to happen because I'm probably going to have like a 12-pound baby. Like all of these things, like were pushed on me. And I just personally felt like it was fear mongering. And then, you know what was special that I could speak to you and you were still giving me the facts, but you were giving me them in just a purely factual way. So you could give me the percentages as they were factually, not scaremongering me. And then when I had the facts and figures there, I'm like, well, that's a very small chance. I've actually got the real facts in front of me. Then I can make a informed decision. But when it's fueled with panic and fear, I'll make a decision based on panic and fear. And I just feel that's like really unfair. It's so manipulative. And I can't, I just, can't thank God enough that on 42 weeks on the day, that was when I started, like labor had started.
And before you get into that story, like I also just want to point out, even the very same midwives or doctors who will tell you all this fear bombing and present it as facts will also say, but the best indicator of fetal well-being is if your baby's moving well. And I always remember every time you contact me, I would say, Kate, is
Yeah.
your baby moving well? And you were like, yeah, we're in the park, the baby's kicking me, like we're having fun. Like, I'm well. And so again,
Yeah.
it goes back to that individualistic care. If the baby is well and the mother is well, why are we pushing for something that they do not need? And I remember you saying, listen, like if there is something wrong, I will go to the hospital. And
Yeah.
that's what it's about. It's not about like shunning hospitals or saying, no, I'm gonna, go and give birth in mountains or whatever, but like by myself. But it's about if something is wrong, like, trust me, or, know that I, as a mother, do not also want to put my baby in danger. Like, of course, if there is something wrong, I will seek help, but you are seeking it on your own terms.
So I had to say that. I had to say that to get them to calm down because it's like they made me feel like I wanted to put my baby at risk. They made me feel like I just wanted to be a brat or I want to just stay in my own pajamas at home. That's why I don't want to go to hospital. Oh, I want to be able to eat. They made me feel like I was being so ridiculous for wanting a home birth. Bearing in mind, it wasn't just on a whim. Like I said, I've wanted a home birth since forever. I've always had that inner hippie wanting to just free birth within me. If I was so much more younger, the way that I know my three births would have been, and not even that, not even anything to do with age. If I was more informed about how mothers can give birth, what we're allowed to do, and not even allowed, what our bodies are capable of, if we nourish them, if we're allowed that space, my first birth would have been a lot different.
Mm.
And so that's why now I will scream and shout about my different birth experiences to just get people, get mothers in a different way of thinking if they want that. Some
Mhm.
mums want hospital, they want the clinical, they need that. So therefore you do that. But this other option, why is nobody screaming about it? And then I was told the percentage of women that actually are having home birth was so small.
It's very small. And I mean, for some hospitals, it's like less than 2%. Like it's very, very small. Nationwide, internationally, it's small. I was actually reading stats that I mean, this was like years ago, but in the States, it was something like, oh, of the millions and millions of women that give birth, I think it was like 1,600 at the time that were having home births. Women who give birth every year are in the millions, and that was just in the States. So go into the birth of Alora.
So went into birth on the Friday. So on the Thursday, I'd actually met up with a friend. For 2 weeks, every night, I felt like I was going into labor. And then it would get to a certain point and it would just stop. And I just didn't understand what was going on. And then on the Thursday, went and had a little cake, a little hot chocolate. Then on the way back, I just couldn't walk home. It's a 10-minute, it's about 7-minute walk, and it took me 40 minutes. So looking back, I was in labor. I was in labor. I had to stop. I had to squat. I had to bend over, breathing a lot. My 12-year-old was freaking out. And then I said to her, "Do you know what? I think you need to take tomorrow for work. You can't go in tomorrow." And then that night, I remember just I wanted to be by myself. I wasn't in the bed. I was on the sofa, just having very mild contractions. And that's when I started timing them in the night. So by the
Mhm.
morning, realized, yeah, I am, I'm in labor, and they were regular and they were manageable and everything. And then I remember I contacted my midwife. I contacted my midwife and I also said to her that I had a little bit of blood, like tiny bit of blood. And she said, "I'd advise you to go to the hospital, to be honest. I'd advise you straight away to go to the hospital." And I ignored her. I just ignored her. I think at that point as well, I'd have told you that I'd gone into labour. And then as soon as they come, literally within 10 minutes, my contractions stopped. So they were there, my contractions stopped totally. And then they were there for a couple of hours and then nothing was happening.
Mm.
Nice, because they said that they'd go. They were like, "I think if we go, they're going to come back." And I was like, "Yeah, I think that as well." And then they were getting their stuff together and my contractions started again. And it was like, I couldn't believe it because I felt bad. Like, my house is small and there was
Mm.
just an element. And although they were lovely, I just wanted it to be like a bit of
Yeah.
a family. And it kept the two boys at home as well. So Thea was at home, hibernating in his bedroom. Maya was at home as well. I had the big pool, had the bath pool set up in the living room. So as they were going out, I was having contractions. And then they told me, like, when you get to this point, ring us, we'll come back. And I think I like stretched it out. I didn't call them straight away. I was just enjoying like laboring,
As
but I just being in my own zone. And obviously, I think I haven't gone in and spoken about it as much, how heavily I relied on you. So it wasn't, I relied on you heavily throughout my pregnancy. You were there when I needed you to be there. You never imposed, but and you could foresee certain situations. So I knew what to do when I was in certain situations, what remedies I had to take or what remedies I was on that I knew were helping me, which took a big weight off of my shoulders. I feel like the actual day of labor could have gone like wrong if I wouldn't have had the emotional support from you. And also, I wasn't as strong because at any point, given point, they wanted me to go into the hospital. They didn't want me to get into the pool. They were like, they didn't want me to get into the pool. And I can't even remember why.
probably
They did.
thinking it would slow down your labor.
That's all they saw. But I was like, I'm in such pain. Can I not just use it as pain relief? And then I remember at one point they said that my blood pressure was too high. I'm going in. If it doesn't go down the next time they take it, then I'm going into the hospital. I knew what I needed to do. I knew what, and my blood pressure did go down. And miraculously, I did not have to go in. But I felt like it was threatened to me so
Mhm.
many times. Like, we're going to have to take you in. And I was adamant, like, it's not happening.
Do you remember what the blood pressure reading was at the time when they were saying they wanted to transfer you?
So it was 160 over like 90 something.
Mm.
And with the tools that you gave me, I remember it like it very, very much did go down.
Mhm.
Um, and like, and as well, they were taking it at ridiculous times. Like, I'm having a contraction. You're checking me like minutes after. And I remember going to them like, "Bro, I've just had a contraction. I'm in pain. My blood pressure's gonna go high. Relax. Relax. Give me a minute. Like, what, why? Why are you checking me?" And then I asked, and then I was like, "Can I get into the pool?" And they were like, "No, no." And then I remember I walked into the hallway, I walked back and I was like, "I'm getting into the pool. I'm getting into the pool." And they can't tell me not to. So I remember just getting into the pool. I think I asked for pain relief when Alora's head was coming out. I remember asking them to just pull her out. I remember, like the whole ring of fire thing. The water was such a relief. It was like such a relief as well. And I remember I wanted to buy like really fancy, was it called, what, coconut water, like a really fancy drink. And I remember it being like £40 and to be sent, no, for like this powder thing, like that they recommend is good. Through pregnancy, or that's what Instagram had told me. And I remember sending it to you saying, "Do I need this in my pregnancy?" And you were like, "No, drink this, drink that. Like, you're fine. This is what you drink. That's fine." So I was like, "Oh." So I remember sipping on that and it just gave me such relief. And then she was here. It wasn't long. It wasn't long. I wasn't in labor for long. I'm not even obsessing over it was this many minutes. It was this many hours because I just remember it not being long. It not being, I want to say, not that painful. The only bit that I remember is the ring of fire bit. And then she was here. And I remember just being calm, giving birth, and I could hear a real distant sound saying, "You need to pick her up. You need to pick her up." And then picking her up, putting her like on my chest. She didn't cry, but she was breathing. So we knew she was breathing. She was just on my chest. And then my son saying something like, "My baby," because he saw everything, like the littlest one. So he was two.
Wow.
My heaven, I remember my chest and I'm looking over and he's going like this to want to hold her. So in my head, it's all like idyllic and baby's on my chest. I didn't know in the that last half an hour, the 2-year-old's been all manic because the energy must have been high, but I can't remember that. In my head, he was just perfectly well behaved. So Oric was running from living room to bedroom, living to bedroom. But because I had a home birth, he was able to do that. There was no
Mm,
like rest with mummy's having a baby, the kids are getting sent off to grandparents. We were all just there. And
mm.
then the wonderful thing was when I've got out of the pool, I sat on the sofa with all my like towels and stuff. And I just had baby girl just on me. The midwife and Oryx sorted out all the pool cleaning and everything. And I just sat there and I didn't have to be in an uncomfortable hospital bed. I could eat the foods that I want, drink the foods that I want, listen to the music that I want. We played music like loud. I think we had reggae music on. We played music loud because it's our house and we ate what we wanted to eat. It was so special. Um, and we saw you that night. That's how okay.
Yes.
Like, I'd forget that. Like, that's how okay I was. I remember just, yeah, like I felt good. I felt so good. I felt so amazing. Again, I didn't feel that exhaustion. It was
Mhm.
very different to the other pregnancies. I remember you coming round and it's always felt like, "This is your baby," because you'd been such a part of this. Or it was like, and as well, like, we're very private people, but for my husband to be like, "What? Rosemary come round? Obviously. What, like Auntie Rosemary? Got to come round, of course." But that was looking back, that was very special. Because I don't think
Yeah.
we don't have sisters. I don't even know if I've told my family.
No, I felt very honored because I remember I think you had called me and I was still at work. And then I said, "Oh, I'm finishing soon. I'll call you back." And I called you back, and I think your Auric was on it was on loudspeaker. So I was talking to both of you, and I think you were like, "Do you want to come round?" And I was like, "What?" Like, oh,
Like, I wanted to show her
wonderful!
off. Look.
Look at what you have done. Look at this amazing achievement. Like,
And sh and she was 9.3 pounds. So she was 9
that's
pounds 3 and no pain relief.
amazing. And then I know because you said the £9 3, some people are going to be like, "Ouch! Oh my gosh, you must have tore to your anus." Can you talk about that?
I did not tear. I didn't scream. Oh, I might have screamed like the Ring of Fire bit, but the contractions of that I didn't scream. Like breathing helped me massively, and I didn't tear. I had done something to my clit. I think that I don't want to say tore, but something happened there. But it wasn't painful. I didn't even know. I couldn't tell. The midwives could tell when they examined me, and they were very distraught. There was 3 of them. I could tell by their faces. Oh my gosh. And I was like, at that point, they scared me so much that I had gas in air then
Mm.
because they were scared. And like their reaction to whatever was going on down there terrified me.
And what was it? What was that process?
It was literally nothing. Do you know what? They said to me, if you want, you can go into hospital. I don't know if they offered me an epidural for something down there, but they offered me like
A spinal?
big, big painkillers. Bearing in mind, I've just had a home birth with no painkillers. They said, "Would you like to come into hospital and see if you can be stitched up and we can give you pain relief?" I was like, "No." I said, "There's no way I am leaving. Like I've just had there's no way I'm leaving. Like, why do you want me to get back? I was literally like, "Why on earth do you want to get me to hospital?" But you know what shut them up? Because I was like, "Do you know why I'm not coming to the hospital? And I know that you're not gonna be able to do anything? It's because I've cut my clitoris before 20 years ago. I've cut my clitoris before and nothing the hospital couldn't do anything. I had to heal naturally." And they again winced and was like, "Oh my days." So that shut them up. Because otherwise, if I would have said, "Oh, yes, take me to the hospital," they happily would have taken me. And I'm like, "Why?" But I
How
was
can I ask, how did you I know you've told me, but again, for the person wondering, how the heck did you cut it? How did that happen 20 years ago?
I was just beautifying and just trimming the area, something that I never recommend. Go somewhere fancy schmancy and pay £50 for a wax is what I
Oh,
learned from that situation.
okay. And then during that, but were you bleeding though? For the midwives to be horrified, were you bleeding? What was
No,
No.
it wasn't. It was just a tear. I think they said, "Oh, so I remember being in labour and saying, 'My clit's gonna fall off.'" And that's the pain. I remember saying that, and they were saying to me, "Just hold it." And I was like, "I'm not gonna hold it." I was like, "That's not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna hold it." And then after they said to me, "Yeah, it wouldn't have done anything. We just didn't know what to do to try to help." And I'm like, "Knew that." But yeah, it wasn't that bad. Like, funny that it wasn't that bad, the pain.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I remember taking a tincture and my if I was gonna say platypus, it's definitely not platypus. What's it called? What is in what feeds the baby within me?
The placenta. Like,
Let me say it
it
again.
is late to be fair. It's like it's even past my bedtime, so I can't
Yeah,
imagine.
that's right. So, I remember as well my placenta passing very easily, and they
Mm.
kept hyping it up like, "It's gonna feel like you're in labour again when you pass your placenta. It's gonna feel like you're in labour again. This might take ages." Like, really, again, I felt like I was being scared that, "Oh, no, I'm gonna be in labour again." But I remember I had my tinctures. I remember sending oracles, "Find this, find that," on the fridge. So I had those, passed it very easily, and I remember it looking really fresh because I had actually asked to keep my placenta from Maya, and they basically said I wouldn't have wanted to keep it. And because of all the medication that I was on, it was like small and it wasn't healthy. I wanted to keep because I wanted to encapsulate it and do make tablets from Maya's, but basically they advised against it because it wasn't healthy. My placenta this time wouldn't fit into their thing that they had. They literally tried to put it in it looked like a big sandwich bag. They literally couldn't hold it. And it was so healthy. I just remember it being really bright and really healthy. And I wish I'd kept it so I could have frozen it and then planted it somewhere when we move or done a print or something with it. But it's done now.
Oh, that's amazing. Like, thank you for sharing all of that. And I imagine the postpartum was better than your previous one. How was that?
It was so special, like, it was actually magical, and so I remember I had in my head, I kept seeing the stay in your bed for 5 days, stay near your bed for 5 days, and then stay around your home for 5 days. I'm thinking, "Right, cool, that's 15 days." And then just thinking back to how, like, my mum told me with my first pregnancy that, like, "Why are you leaving the house?" And so definitely adopted the whole staying home for 40 days. And it was just so incredible. The time after was just very slow, like really slow. I really prioritized myself. So I had meals good to go, really like rich, nutrient dense food to nourish myself, still taking herbs from you. It was just like a soft, slow, loving, warm time after. There was no rushing. There was no rushing. I was like in a cocoon for 40 days. I think I went out twice. I tried walking to the park and then I was like, oh, I loved being at home. Like a lot of people talk about mental health and needing to get out. for me, that just felt like such a strong foundation. Just all I could concentrate on breastfeeding, not having to get changed. Like it was a very special time.
It's been incredible to actually watch your journey over the past few years. So it's been great to be a fly on the wall. But and something I want to touch on actually, just to backtrack to when you mentioned kind of obviously like having me in your corner and like at some point really feeling like you needed me. I want to also like touch on that because my aim when I work with clients is to kind of get them to a point where they don't need they don't need the assistance as much. So, to me, that signifies like, okay, I've done my job. But it also to kind of tie into like the village aspect, right? You do need a village and you do need people in your corner. And I remember that's something I was saying to you that, really like focus on the postpartum, like who's in your squad afterwards, because I liken it to a wedding where people are so excited about the wedding. They kind of almost forget you are actually going home with this person and there's a marriage after. So we get so focused looking after you, like what's the plan afterwards? Because the birth itself, dare I say this, is the quickest part. Like once that's done, okay, then what? So in
Yeah.
some ways, it's kind of the easiest part. The wedding is kind of 24 hours and then it's done. What happens afterwards is that for some women, like, the every pregnancy is different, as you just illustrated as well. And sometimes maybe I might experience this where one pregnancy, you kind of do rely on people and you pray that you have really good people around you, and I'm glad that you're able to have that. But sometimes that's also to set you up so that the next pregnancy, I'm talking to those listening who are thinking like, oh no, I don't have XYZ around me. How am I going to cope? Sometimes just trust and believe that you will have the right people and the right situation around you, but you do
Yeah.
need to be proactive. And I think that's what you were. You were really proactive. You were like, right, here's what's the plan. After Maya, you kind of really focused on getting your body in shape, getting your mind right, just investing in yourself. If you were to get pregnant again, like, you'd be okay. You'd be like, you've heard all the, like, scared tactics now, you've heard it all, like, you've been through it, you've had every type of birth pretty much. Like, you'd be okay. I think you'd be solid.
I'm like, she's our last. Lord, love. I was teaching on like a winter wellness workshop the other day and I was talking about you. And literally said, I was to go on to have another baby. Rosemary has given me the tools that I know I could do without her and that I'd be wanting her there because I just want her there. But, but yeah, and then I was like, wait, did I just say go on to have another baby? I was like, another baby. But yeah, and when I say we needed you, at the time, it was one reflection.
Mm,
And do you know what as well? It's like that. It's like having her here, Auric is adamant that the reason why she is so chilled, she's such a bundle of joy, but her whole attitude is relaxed, yeah? And that she just came out smiling from the womb. He's adamant that is all you. Like, he is not giving me anything, raised me. And he's on the phone to his friends. It's all Rosemary why baby girl is
oh,
like this.
wow.
But I remember because even with my baby, so like I didn't have a baby shower, I had a baby blessing. And so it was so different in the sense that like we held space, then we did some Pilates, and then everyone said a prayer. Because everyone who I've got here, like in this room, I know that in one way or another, you're going to be there for me as a mum over the next few years, over the life of Alora's life, you're going to be there. And that's why you are here. That's why we're sharing food with each other. We're praying together. We're laughing together. One of my friends, it's a very different feeling to a baby shower. We literally like all came together and just everyone loved on me, which was very special. So like I held that energy and I carried that on.
Just to go back on that point, no, the reason why she is beautifully sound and chilled is because of you and her
Yes.
daddy.
You know, she this is the last baby of Laura.
Oh, well, listen, let me not hold you up. Is there anything, any sort of lasting words of encouragement you want to share to mamas who have been in your position? Anything you want to end off with?
Have a home birth, have a home birth, but also really prioritize you, really nourish yourself, really do all the work to make your body be as strong, your mind be as strong as we were meant to be. Like, we're depicted as these frail almost beings when we're pregnant with no brain cells and fragile. When we're so strong as women, we just need to arm ourselves with the tools so that we can be the best.
This is perfect. You've given us enough gems, and thank you for sharing the vulnerable sides to your story as well. I hope that the listeners gain what they need from this and they gain, the confidence and the tools that they need to kind of take responsibility for their own health as well. So thank you so much, Kate. Thank you, Laura, for featuring.
I would say it's changed me as a woman having a home birth. Changed
Mm.
it's changed me for the better having a home birth and just feeling empowered and as well like going forward sharing my stories with my daughter, with even with my sons. So it positively changed me for the better. And I thank you so much for that.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you. So where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram, almost edible, and TikTok _ almost edible.
I'll let you go enjoy. Have a
Alright.
beautiful night, Kate. Thank you so much.
Lots of love.
I appreciate you for listening or watching. If you'd like to get in touch or have a story you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach us through our website, houseofrosemary.com, or on Instagram, House of Rosemary, where we share posts on herbs, periods, and pregnancy. Take care.